So, good morning, everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all from distinguished engineers, professionals from multinational companies like Microsoft, Infosys, Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, and many more. It is a great pleasure to have you all for this session, Cultivating CEO Mindset. We are privileged to have an extraordinary speaker with us, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, a mentor, monk, and a speaker who has dedicated nearly 30 years to the Bhakti Yoga tradition through ISKCON. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu has been a spiritual guide for nearly 3 decades, sharing the timeless wisdom of Bhakti Yoga. He has authored 30 books that elucidate the relevance of Vedic wisdom texts, including the Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. Chaitanya Charan is the author of world's only daily blog on the Bhagavad Gita, gitadaily.com, where he has spent approximately 5,000 articles on the Gita. He has been an invited speaker at prestigious events such as TEDx, World Peace Conference, UNESCO, and has delivered talks at leading organizations like Intel, Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, as well as top tier universities, including Stanford, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, MIT, and Cambridge. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu had delivered over 400 talks annually across 100 cities in 4 continents, inspiring and enlightening audiences worldwide. So, in today's sessions, we will explore the transformative power of cultivating a CEO mindset, drawing from the profound insights of the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic texts. Our esteemed speaker Chaitanya Charan will guide us through practical strategies to develop leadership qualities, enhance productivity, and achieve a harmonious balance between personal and professional life. We are confident that this session will provide you valuable insight and practical tools to navigate complexities of modern leadership and wisdom and compassion. So once again, I welcome you all and thank you greatly to Prabhuji, even though he is not well. He has just not taken injection, but still he has come to bless us, to share his knowledge and help us in our personal and professional life. So please welcome with great clapping for Prabhuji.
Thank you all for coming today. So let us begin by gradually just centering and calming ourselves. So wherever you're seated, you can close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. And as you are breathing, just try to experience the breath. As you exhale and as you inhale. Let all the negativity and the lethargy, the distraction, all of it go out. Let the positivity and energy from the cosmos come in. Now together we'll chant the mantra Om. So we'll try do it together and try to draw it as long as possible. And we'll try to focus on the sound of the Om in the Om as we draw it. So take a deep breath. So I realized I had to get a handle on myself. So this idea that on the path of life, on one side, we put there are doors which need to be opened so that we can walk through. But on this same path of life, there are trapdoors, and we can fall into those trapdoors. These need to be closed. So I realized that leadership, if a person has to actually become a leader, it is as much about opening the doors as it is about closing the trapdoors. I hope the word trapdoors is clear. Like sometimes in old homes or something like that, old palaces, there were doors in which people could go inside and they could escape from there or they could hide there. So it's like on the road also sometimes there may be these sanitation holes. They are doors. So I'm specifically using as trap doors because we can get trapped inside them. We can fall and we can get trapped inside. And so that's when I started exploring. I encountered the Bhagavad Gita, and in the Bhagavad Gita, I found an explanation for this self-sabotaging tendency that we have. These trapdoors, why are they present? Are they present in everyone? Are they present more in some people? Are they less in some people? What is the cause of it? And what can we do about it? So basically, what I'm going to speak today, it is built on this. There is inner power, and there is outer power. So outer power is about opening doors through contacts, through education, through technical skill learning. Now inner power is about closing trapdoors. So now, if somebody wants to be truly a successful leader, they need to be able to do both. They need to be able to open doors so that they can move ahead in life, and then they should be able to close the trap doors. If we consider the broad framework of the Bhagavad Gita, it is a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, and it is a part of the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there are descriptions of people with the different tendencies. So, if somebody neither has inner power nor outer power, that means they may have trapdoors inside them which they are not able to close. But if they don't have inner power, they will be relatively, even if they do some harm, it will be minor harm. Because the trapdoors are not closed, they might hurt someone. But say somebody is too lazy to even get out of bed. They don't have much energy, they don't have much talent, they don't have much money. And if they drink, how much they're going to drink, how much of anger they can get into. So somebody has neither inner power nor outer power, they might harm, but the harm is minor. Now, if somebody has inner power and outer power, then they can do major good. Major good means I'm talking, so minor means I'm talking simply to oneself. They might harm themselves, but they don't really have much power to harm others. Major means I'm talking about oneself and others, both. So they'll be able to do some good to themselves and to others also. They are not going to sabotage themselves. Now, if somebody has inner power but not outer power, that means they don't have any trap doors open for them, so they are not going to hurt themselves. But because they do not have much outer power, so here they can say they will do some minor good. Minor good means they will do some good for themselves. Maybe in some small circle they might do some good to somebody else. Now, the most dangerous is where somebody has outer power but no inner power. Here they will end up doing major harm. So in the Mahabharata, this is the example of Duryodhan. Duryodhan was born in a royal family, so he as a prince had power, but He had outer power, he lacked inner power. He had greed and envy and other things, and we'll talk about him a little bit more as we move forward. But because of that, he harmed himself, and eventually there was a huge war because of which thousands and thousands and thousands of people were killed. So this is where you can say there's a misleader, a person who ends up causing harm to others. Now, as contrast to that, we can say Arjuna will be over here. And now, I hope all of you are basically familiar with the Mahabharata at a basic level. I'll explain, if I go into specific details, I'll talk about the characters a little bit. Now, if we consider Vidura, he falls over here. Vidura, because he was not a proper prince, so he was born in the royal family, but he was not not exactly born in the royal lineage. So he was not expected to be the king. He could give advice, but he had no power to execute. So if people listened to his advice, some good could be done. But most of the times, he was stuck with a person who would not listen to his advice. Who was that person? Who was the person who didn't listen to Vidura? Yes, and Dhritarashtra falls in this category. Now, Dhritarashtra was a person who ended up, he had some sense of self-pity. Oh, I'm born in royalty, but I can't be the king. And because I can't be the king, he felt sorry for himself a little bit. But overall, he was blessed. His brother was very respectful. His brother did not make him feel bad about himself. He got a devoted wife, and she was supportive. So overall, he was okay. But when Duryodhan was born, and then Duryodhan, in one sense, brought out the worst part of Dhritarashtra. So then Dhritarashtra from here moved a little bit over here. He didn't really abuse his outer power, but he had power to stop bad things from happening, and he did not stop those bad things from happening. So he didn't. There is a crime of omission and a crime of commission. Omission is where somebody is doing something bad and we don't stop it, even though we can stop it. So that was Dhritarashtra's crime in one sense. Now that is a crime of omission. Like a riot is going on and the police don't do anything about the riot. Then what happens? The police are meant to keep things peaceful, and sometimes the police stay peaceful while everybody else is not peaceful, isn't it? It happened. I was in UK at that time. In Leeds, there was a big riot, and the police let the rioters peacefully riot. This was UK. So that's not a good thing. So there is Krishna says in the Gita that akarmanya akarmaya pashet akarmani cha karmaya. Sometimes we may not do anything, and that's why we are culpable. And sometimes we may do something which is wrong. So that was Duryodhan. So broadly speaking, becoming a responsible leader is about, from whichever quadrant we are in, we would like to move to the quadrant of having both inner power and outer power. Now, most of society urges us to acquire outer power. And most of our education today, and as well as the propaganda from the culture today, is about acquiring outer power. How can you get a better paying job? How can you succeed more in life? And all that is important, no doubt. However, if there is outer power without inner power, that can lead to catastrophe. So, when the Gita is spoken, it is Arjuna in one sense is already a leader. He's a champion archer, and he is leading, although not officially, he's the most important warrior in his army. So he's already a leader. But what the Gita helps him to do is develop that inner power. So in today's session, we'll talk about how from wherever we may be at present, we can move towards both gaining inner power and outer power. Both are important. As I said, without outer power, we may not be able to do much even if we want to do good. So throughout this talk, if any time you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions, and I'll feel free to not answer them. What I mean by that is that So, oh, it's going off from here, is it? Are you doing screen sharing? No, you're doing. How are you doing it? Oh, okay, then that's fine. I'll just do. No, we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay. So there was smart screen. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay. How do you maximize it? Okay. So this journey towards developing inner power and outer power, that's what I'll talk about now in three broad parts. Okay. So any questions at this point? When I said I'll feel free to not answer them, what I meant is that I will, if the question is going to be answered in later part of the talk, or if it's not relevant, I may not answer it immediately, but otherwise we will take the question also. Okay. So now, inner power, what does it actually mean? Like I said, the vision is closing the trapdoors. That there are trapdoors inside us, because of which we often hurt ourselves. Often we may sometimes feel that there are people outside us who are not giving us opportunities, people are tormenting us, or people are exploiting us, and that may be true. But quite often, if we look at our life objectively, it is we who are often our own enemies. It is we who sabotage our chances quite often. So I'll talk about what are the ways in which we can gain inner power, and then this is inner power is closing the trapdoors so that we don't sabotage ourselves. And then we'll talk in the last part about how to open doors for ourselves. Now, with respect to closing the trapdoors, broadly speaking, inside us, we have our desires. We have our emotional side and we have our rational side. So the emotional side is more about feeling. Hey, this feels good, this does not feel good. The rational side is more about judging. It analyzes, it evaluates. Now both of these can go towards an extreme. And if we consider, so the inner trapdoor that I'll talk about is, they arise from both these sides. If there's only the emotional side, there's all associated feelings, emotions, desires. On the other hand, only the rational side. So both of these can lead us to problems. If somebody is very much controlled by their emotions, then what happens is such a person becomes very somewhat unstable. Some people are very moody. Now, if you tell them they're moody, they won't agree to that. It's like they say, I believe whenever I interact with people, each time I want to give them a new emotional experience with me. But what's the new emotional experience? One day they are very kind and polite, other day they are so cruel and mean. What happened? One day they are very calm, the other day they are super agitated. So if somebody is very emotional, then their emotions often become, if not their enemies, at least their obstacles. That a person, life will always have ups and downs. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gum. The dualities will be there. But when we are very emotional, what happens is, we go way up and we go way down. So these are extremes. And when this happens, others cannot count on us. It's like in cricket, there are some teams. Now one day they can beat the biggest champions. The next day, some company, some team which is not even a part of the big league, they also defeat them. It's like you don't know how that team will perform on that. There's no consistency. So when somebody is very emotional, others cannot count on that person. And now we'll all have emotions, and emotions are required. But the problem comes when our emotions, which tend to be reversible. Today I feel one way about something, and tomorrow I may not feel that way. Today I feel we are doing some project, we are doing some work, and today this is wonderful, this is so exciting, this is so stimulating. And the next day we feel this is so boring, this is dreadful. Why did I even take this project? So now, if our emotions are reversible, but based on that we make decisions, and those decisions are irreversible, then that will lead to disaster. So a leader cannot be a person who lets their emotions control them. In some ways, this is what happens to Arjuna at the start of the Gita. He lets his emotions control him. He says, how can I fight this war? I have my elders, I have my teacher, I have my guru over there. That's true, those emotions are important, no doubt. One should be respectful to one's elders. But they are fighting on the wrong side. They have chosen to support a person. The Mahabharata war was fought for many reasons, but one main reason was the way the Kauravas dishonored Draupadi. There will always be men who are predatory. They are predatory men. But such people, if at all they want to molest someone, they'll do it in private somewhere. There are no eyewitnesses. They have some fear of the law. If somebody does something like this in public, that means they have no fear of the law at all. But if not only in public, they do it in the court or in a police station, then not only do they have no fear of the law has fear of them. It's like that. It's a deadly situation to be in. So these were the kind of people who were in the opposite side. In the court where justice is to be dispensed, there a horrendous atrocity had been done. So Arjuna said, I cannot fight. His emotion was understandable, but despite the understandable emotion, the decision of not fighting was unacceptable. So emotions, when they control us, then a person cannot be a reliable leader. So inner power is about managing our emotions. Now, on the other hand, if somebody is only rational, and what happens is, they often become very attached to their opinions. Now, I'm doing as a broad classification over here. So here it's not so much emotions as it is we may have some basis for making our judgments. But such people, when they are only rational, they become very clinical, very judgmental. They start appearing as if they are heartless. So here, if somebody is only emotional, they can become headless. Headless means they're not thinking clearly. But if they're only rational, they can end up becoming heartless. Heartless means what? That, okay, somebody's supposed to do a job and they're not completed the job. And then somebody has a criteria, okay, if you don't complete this deadline, you'll be fired. Okay, but they may have been very, very reliable in the past. Maybe at this particular time, there's a big family emergency. Maybe they had a child who was kidnapped or something, and they were busy in trying to rescue the child. And because of that, they did not do the work. You did not do the work, you're fired. Now, there are exceptional situations, and those situations need to be considered. If a person, when the person is very rational, they just divide reality into very neat categories. This is right, this is wrong. This is a successful person, this is a failure. And reality is messy. Reality always has many shades of black and white. Sometimes a good person, a person who is reliable and competent and dedicated, may not be able to meet certain standards because of certain situations. And then at that time, one has to be able to accept that there are exceptions. So one can become heartless because based on the reason, one just divides things into categories. This is right, this is wrong. And there are no nuances over there. So when this happens, again, such a person may not be emotional, but sometimes you want to see, do you have a heart? We are human beings. We are not just performing machines. The performance is important, but that's not all that is important. There are other aspects also that are important. So I've been traveling across the world for almost 10 years now, especially 7-8 months I'm outside India and the Western world. I observed some differences between, say, Indian work culture, Western work culture, and Indian culture in general, Western culture in general. So, to some extent, in the Western world, the professionalism is more. Okay, people make a commitment, they'll stick to a commitment. Many times Indians, if you ask, can you complete this? They'll say yes. But that yes is actually not a yes. That yes is a hmm. And what comes after the yes is the real answer. Yes, and I think we have to complete this, and we have to do this, and we have to do that. That means they're saying all this is not possible to do it. So sometimes there's very black and white kind of communication. And there may be some advantages to that, that's in the West. But what happens is, because of that, while people are polite, they're not very personal. There's a huge problem of loneliness. Now, loneliness can be there everywhere, but people may be polite, people may be professional, but they don't bond very much. I was in Los Angeles, I was going for a program, and there was a car driving in front of me, and the car had a bumper sticker. It said, "The more I get to know people, the more I love my dog." Because people can be so judgmental, people can be so, again, it can be that this way also unreliable also, whatever it is. But my point is that before we can become leaders of others, we have to become stable. So here, if emotionality can be an obstacle, too much emotionality, and too much rationality, which leads to judgmentality. Now, as a leader, obviously we have to judge others. What is become a leader? As an ordinary person, we have to judge others. Say after this session, we will have some food, and we want to talk with people. Now you will be deciding. Okay, whom do you want to talk with? Do you want to talk with the speaker? Do you want to talk with the organizers? Or do you want to network with some other people who are over here? Or you just want to take the food and leave immediately? You have to make a decision. So judgments have to be made all the time. But when somebody becomes judgmental, that means they reduce a person to a label. This person is like this only. And when this happens, now in the Mahabharata, Duryodhan would sometimes become very emotional, and he sometimes become he would just become very judgmental. And because of these moods, because of this, he didn't have the outer power. He had the outer power, but he did not have the inner power to use that outer power. So what happened for him, that in royal families, whenever there is a prince, the prince is called as the heir. Heir is the person who is going to succeed as the next king. Now in royal families, they are very concerned that we should have children who will succeed us. But once they have one child, anything can happen to that child. Kingdom is a serious thing, so they want to have another child. And that second child is called the spare. So you have the heir, and then you have the spare. And the spare is in a very peculiar position, because the spare will never become the king as long as the heir is there. Now obviously you don't want your sibling to die, but if the sibling does not die, your prospects are going to die. So it's a very peculiar situation. So when Duryodhan was born, at that time the Pandu was in the forest, and it was expected that he is not going to have children because he had a curse on him. But even when they came to know he had children, he was living in the forest, so it was expected his sons will also live in the forest only. So Duryodhan was expecting that I will be the heir, and everybody treated him like that. But then Pandu unexpectedly passed away, and then his children, along with their mother, came back to the kingdom. And Yudhishthir, who happened to be slightly older than Duryodhan. So what happened was, Duryodhan was initially the heir, but then suddenly he found he had become the spare. Now, this led to insecurity. Now, insecurity is understandable. It's natural. If there's a first child who's the attention for all the parents and everyone who comes at home, and suddenly a second child comes in, then the child may feel a little insecure. Now that insecurity is understandable, but from there it becomes envy. That becomes a little more serious. So he let his insecurity and his envy control him. And this is what happens when we work in as a leader, or we are working, you may have leader. Sometimes what happens is we have leaders above us. We may be leaders in some way, but we have leaders above us. And if the leaders are very insecure, then what happens? They don't let their subordinates grow also, because they fear that, oh, this person will excel me. And they don't want even their subordinates to work with any other leader, because they will think that, oh, he or she will compare me with somebody else, and they'll devalue me. So if the leader is very insecure, then the leader cannot function. And then if somebody does something wrong, just attack that person, hit out at that person. So at one level, his emotions were his enemies. But along with that, over a period of time, what happened was that among the Pandavas, there was one person with whom he developed a very deep rivalry. Who was that? Bhima, yeah. Now Bhim was physically strong, physically actually a little stronger than Duryodhan. But when they learned mace fighting, Duryodhan was more skilled than Bhima. So they were more or less equal. But over a period of time, he started thinking that anybody who supports the Pandavas, anybody who appreciates the Pandavas is my enemy. So somebody can be supporting somebody who's a rival of ours and can still be our well-wisher. But what happened? He became very judgmental towards Vidura. And Vidura was his well-wisher. So he had envy towards the Pandavas and especially towards Bhima. So this is how, although he had outer power, his insecurity and his emotions started getting the better of him, or rather started bringing out the worst from within him. So needing to be able to keep a handle on our emotions is very important. But afterwards, his emotions, what happened is with his reason, he started using his reason wrongly. He said, Vidura is not only enemy, he started thinking he's a traitor. Why a traitor? Because he's supporting them. And finally, grievously insulted him and he drew him away. So basically, what happens for each one of us when life goes up and down? Now, it's natural that when life goes up and down, we will also go up and down with it. But if we are here, we need something. How do we avoid letting our emotions get the better of us? For that, we need to have an anchor. We need to have something that we can hold on to. That anchor which will help us to stay steady amidst life's ups and downs. Now that anchor is our spirituality. Our emotions will naturally go up and down. But if we have something unchanging that we can hold on to, that will help us to stay calm. So the breathing exercises that we did, we chanted Om. In our tradition, we do the Kirtan of the and Japa of the Hare Krishna mantra. All this is meant to enable us to have an anchor that we can hold on to. And across the world, people are finding that spiritual practices help them to become calmer, help them to become much more centered and less prone to emotional agitation. Even things like depression and other kind of emotional troubles, they decrease for those who have a spiritual side. Many big companies, they are nowadays inviting spiritual speakers to come. Just 2-3 days ago, I was invited to give a talk on Salesforce. So they have a mindfulness unit over there in the premises itself. When I go to the Bay Area in Silicon Valley in North America, there what has happened is that people are recognizing that without this capacity to manage one's emotions and desires. Now, the employees may be very talented and very dedicated, but they will lot of mental health problems will come up, and these need to be addressed. So from a pragmatic perspective, spirituality gives us steadiness. Life will be unsteady, but the more things change, the more we need to hold on to the things that don't change. And it is spirituality that gives us that connection with that unchanging reality. So our emotions, that one trap door for us, what I'm talking about is a trap door. One trap door is the emotionality on our side. And that can lead us, we can close the trap door by having a spiritual connection, by having some spiritual practices in our lives. Then the second part, how do we overcome the judgmentality within us? The, now reason is very important, but the way to deal with that particular obstacle is through curiosity. Curiosity is the opposite of judgmentality. Now, judgmentality can be about others, it can be about ourselves also. See, what happens is, in every situation, there is what I know, and there is what I don't know. So, one of the biggest obstacles for a leader is that they focus only on what they know, and based on that, they form labels. Now, labels can be about ourselves, labels can be about others. But what happens is, or it can be about situations. In whatever situation we are in, there are things that we know, but there are also things that we don't know. So curiosity is not that we devalue what we know, but we also value what we don't know. Okay, this person promised to do this work and they didn't complete the work. Well, that's not good. But does that necessarily mean this person is incompetent or irresponsible? Possible. But is that the only explanation? Maybe not. Let me be open. So if somebody is opposing my plans, does that necessarily mean that person is my enemy? Maybe it's possible. But maybe it could be that that person is seeing something that I am not seeing. So this curiosity can help us overcome judgmentality. And that's very helpful, not just for dealing with people, but also dealing with ourselves and dealing with the situations that we face in our life. When somebody is very rational, the flip side of rationality is that we try to divide reality into neat categories. This is like this is like this. And while categorization is important, but reality is not divisible into categories like this, at least not in all its complexity. So one of the problems that comes with people who are very judgmental is that they become judgmental about life, and everybody feels sooner or later that life is unfair to me, that I am not getting the recognition that I deserve for the work that I am doing, that I'm not getting the respect, I'm not getting the rewards. And this is an understandable feeling. But it's one thing as a feeling, but it can become much worse when it becomes an overall disposition itself. When somebody starts feeling bitter, nobody respects me. Nobody respects me as I should. Nobody recognizes me the way I am. And this is where a feeling of insecurity that can come and go. But it's natural if we see somebody who's much better than us. We'll feel a little bit insecure sometimes. But from there, when a person goes toward low self-esteem, it's not just an emotion, it has become an attitude, it's become a disposition. And that can be very damaging. So, now life will be unfair, but if we look at life in the big picture, what happens is, there are times when, say, we may do a lot of work in a project. Say I do work worth 100, but we get credit worth 10 only. So what happens is we may do a major part of the work in a team, but then we are just mentioned as one footnote in the credits. You feel I did most of the work. Why am I not being recognized? And that's true. It is like that. But if you are honest, you will notice that there are times when we do little work, and sometimes we join a team when the team is about to complete a project, and the project becomes very successful, and we are seen as a part of the winning team. When India once won the World Cup, at that time there's one player who didn't play a single match, and yet his pictures were there as a part of the winning team. So life is sometimes unfair, no doubt about it. Sometimes we get less than what we deserve, but sometimes we get more than what we deserve also. So why is life so unfair? Why is life so unfair? No, okay, this may be unfair, but be curious. Sometimes we may get more than what we deserve also. And some of you may notice when I came up, I need crutches for walking. So basically when I was 1, I got polio. My mother had taken me to a clinic to get a polio vaccine, but somehow the fridge in which that vaccine had been kept had lost its power supply because of a power outage. We were in a small town at that time. This was almost 40 years ago, 45 years ago almost. So at that time, the vaccines had its germs increase much more. And so preventing the polio, the vaccine caused the polio. So I was just walking normally. I was just learning to walk when I was about one. And then I fell down and I could never walk after that, normally. So I don't remember any of this, but my first major memory of this is when I was around 2.5 or 3. And at that time, a relative had come to our home, a distant relative, and she was consoling my mother, saying, "Oh, it's so sad, your son got polio." And I remember my mother's voice, very calm, clear, confident. She said, "Whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually." I don't know why she said that. At the age of 2.5 or 3, what she saw in me at that age. And she passed away soon after that, so I didn't really get to ask her. But somehow that stayed with me. And as I grew up, I couldn't play outdoor sports like other kids could. But I noticed that I could read very fast. I could remember things well. I could articulate things quickly. I was able to grasp things better. And somewhere at the back of my mind, it settled that on one side, I didn't do anything to deserve the physical disability. But then I didn't do anything to deserve this intellectual ability also. So, yes, life is unfair. But in the big picture, life is fairly unfair. What do you mean by that? That in some areas, we get less than what we deserve, but in some areas, we do get more than what we deserve. So when some people they're just too rational, they become too clinical, too judgmental, and then that becomes a default disposition. People can't be trusted. Yeah, we all will experience people whom we can't trust. But does that mean nobody can be trusted? No, we will be betrayed by some people. But if you look at our own lives, there have been some people in our lives who have been very kind to us, maybe kinder than what we deserved also. So when we just become too judgmental, we end up falling in that trapdoor, where we again can't really see reality objectively. So the Gita tells us that these two things, that the mana and buddhi, the mind which goes through emotions, ups and downs, that we can study through our spirituality. That is the sthita prajna, the Gita talks of, the person who is not affected by the dvandva. That happens through our spirituality. And then we can overcome our emotion, our judgmentality through curiosity. Yes, I may be going through a bad phase right now, but now bad phase is going to last forever. It will change, things will be better. So that's curiosity. I'll talk about one more point and then we will have some question answers. So I talked till now about the inner power. The inner power is about avoiding judgmentality and avoiding emotionality. But then what about gaining outer power? Now, we all would like as I said, close the trap doors, but we also want to open the doors. So how do we go about opening the doors? So I'll talk about one key point over here, that when we are trying to grow spiritually, we are when trying to grow into the outer power, it's important that we develop the capacity for self-observation. In leadership, there are two extremes. That when somebody is trying to become a leader's attitude. I'm talking here in terms of primarily outer doors opening. That one is, I can do everything. I can do everything. That I'm a leader. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do everything. Now, actually, nobody can do everything. This is ego. Ego is where some people, when they gain some power, they just want to concentrate all power to themselves. They don't want to delegate everything. I need to know everything. Do you need to know everything? Do you need to know all these things? I need to know everything so that I can know what I don't need to know. So it becomes like that. Some people just become microcontrollers. And now they may be extending themselves a lot. They might be able to work very hard also. But how long can you keep doing that? Eventually, when we try to do everything, that's where it leads to stress. It's very important that a leader should, okay, even if I can do everything, still do I need to do everything? Leadership is not, leadership by nature is a team activity. Like in sports, there are individual sports, like tennis is an individual sport, chess is an individual sport. But cricket, football, these are team sports. So leadership is primarily about a team sport. So even if I can do everything, it's not that I have to do everything. And quite often from there, one goes to the other extreme. I can do nothing. When we think I can do everything, and then what happens? We're not able to do this, and we're not able to do that, and we're not able to do that. And you start thinking, I can do nothing. And that's why there are these people, some people who have this manic depressive personality. They have talents, but when there's a manic phase, what happens? They think I can shake the whole world. I can do this, I can do that, and their level of energy seems to be so extraordinary at that time. It's alarming. But then they do this and they do that, and if some things don't work out, one thing doesn't work, second thing doesn't work, third thing doesn't work. The same people who felt as if they could shake the world, then they sink into depression. And then even the whole world can't shake them out of their bed. Isn't it? They just want to pull a blanket and just forget the whole thing. So this is where they go into a very deep existential feeling of unworthiness. This is where people have low self-esteem, and quite often the people who externally seem to be very, very powerful, they are masking insecurity in them. And they have those phases. The manic phase, I can do everything. Depressive phase, I can do nothing. And now the important thing is, with respect to opening doors, in between attitude is, I can do some things. And see, each one of us, we have some abilities. So now find out what we are good at and focus on doing that. And find out what others are good at and engage them in doing that. So I can do some things, that is humility. Now humility, sometimes people think humility and ego are opposites. Well, yes and no. Actually, the opposite of ego is not so much humility as insecurity, inferiority, unworthiness. In between is humility. Humility is, I can do some things, I am someone. I don't have to be everyone for everyone. I can do some things and others can do some things. And this humility can be much more easily fostered, again, if we have a devotional worldview. The Gita tells Arjuna that you are a part of something bigger. Mamaivamsho jiva loke. This is not just your fight. It's not that you are fighting alone. Krishna says that you are a part of me, and therefore you are a part of my plan. You are on my team. Krishna tells Arjuna, and that message is not just for Arjuna, it is for each one of us. We are all parts of God, and we all have parts in God's plan. So most people are thinking about, no, I don't have this talent and I can't do this, and this person can do this, and this person can do this, and that causes a lot of insecurity. But okay, I have some abilities, and let me excel, let me improve my abilities. Arjuna was not physically as well built as Bhima. Arjuna never tried to become Bhima. Arjuna, he was good at archery. He could also fight with a mace. But he didn't try to excel Bhima in mace fighting. That's not required. He excelled in archery, and he was extraordinary in that. So, at one level, leadership, when we're trying to open doors, we have to see which doors I can open and which doors others can open. And we empower others. So, humility is not about letting others walk over us. No. It is more about, I don't want you to walk over me, but I don't need to walk over you. We all can walk together. Now, you have your space and I have my space. So humility means we walk together as a team. And when we develop this capacity, we'll find that we will not only able to bring out the best in ourselves. Okay, what am I good at? Let me do that. And we'll observe what are others good at. We'll able to help others also to bring out the best in themselves. And in this worldview, we all have been given gifts, and we are all meant to use our gifts in a mood of service, a mood of contribution. That we are all parts of the divine, and we are all having parts in the divine plan. So the same image I'll just complete. We are here in this world, and this is the world. This is God above us. So what we have is a gift given to us by God. Is God's gift to us. And what we do with what we have is a gift from us. This divine exchange is the exchange of seva, of bhakti and seva together. What I have is God's gift to me. What I do with what I have is my gift to God. When we have this higher vision, then I have been given some gifts. Let me use those gifts. If we don't have this higher vision, then what happens is, it's only I am here and the world is here. And then what happens is, I am always doing something and I'm expecting something from the world. And our vision is only this much, then what will happen is, sometimes we may feel that what I am doing is not enough, because I'm not good enough in this, I don't have enough gifts. Or we may feel that what I'm getting is not enough. But when we have that higher vision, then we'll find that what I have, I'm a part of the Lord, I'm part of something higher. What I have is enough, let me excel in that. And if we do it in the use it in the mood of service, that higher spiritual connection will give us a sublime satisfaction. This is Arjuna raised his bow in readiness to fight. At the end, after hearing the Gita, initially he had put aside his bow, saying, I can't fight. That unwillingness to fight was that Arjuna's bow represents our confidence, our enthusiasm. Sometimes life may just sabotage us, life may just overwhelm us. But just as hearing the message of the Gita inspired Arjuna to lift his bow, similarly, it can inspire each one of us to raise our spirits, to infuse us with the confidence that if we do our best, there are higher forces beyond us that will help us and that will take us to a better place, that will help us, each one of us, to bring out our potential for leadership and the potential to bring out the leaders in others also. I'll summarize what I talked about today. I talk about the CEO mindset based on the Gita. So there I talked about 4 main points. The first was I talked about inner and outer power. And so inner power is more about the power to close trapdoors. I started by talking about how when I thought of teaching, I realized that there was the self-sabotaging tendencies there in each other. So outer power is more about opening doors. And we discussed the example. So here was Vidura. Here is who? Dhritarashtra. No outer power. Here is Duryodhana. And here is Arjuna. So our goal is from wherever we are, we would like to go to a position of inner and outer power. And then to go in that direction, I talked about 3 points. The first 2 points were about inner power. To get inner power, we discuss how too emotional can be a problem. That a person become, based on their emotions, temporary or reversible emotions, they take irreversible decisions. So we try to avoid that. We can counter it through our life will have its ups and downs. But instead of, if we don't want to go way up and way down, then amid life's ups and downs, we need to have a spiritual anchor. So our spirituality can be our anchor by which we can avoid this judgmentality. So here the solution was spirituality. Then there was somebody can be too rational. If they're too rational, then what will happen is they just reduce reality to categories. Oh, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And everybody sooner or later does feel that life is not fair. So they feel life is unfair, and that can make them bitter. So I discussed about initially Duryodhana's insecurity was understandable. But when that insecurity led to envy and destructiveness, then he was envious of the Pandavas and he just was blind to the advice that Vidura was giving him. So instead of making us better, it makes us bitter. So here we talk about curiosity. Curiosity is a solution in the sense that, okay, I got less than what I deserve in one particular area, that's true. But is there some other area where I may get more than what I deserve? This is there, but let me explore where is this also. So curiosity is about what I know is important, but what I don't know may be even more important. So when we develop curiosity, then we can avoid the trap of judgmentality. And we can look, life may be unfair, but life is, in the long run, it is fairly unfair. That, yes, sometimes we get less than what we deserve, but sometimes we get more than what we deserve also. Then lastly, about outer power, I talked about how, when we are going through life and when we feel that, okay, I have not got that, things are not working out the way, then when we are dealing with others, we may feel I have to do everything or I can do nothing. So one is ego, the other is unworthiness. So you want to avoid ego also. You want to avoid the feeling of having no self-worth at all. I am nothing. The deep sense of in between, I can do some things. So I am a part of a bigger reality that I have been given the gift to do something. Let me do some things. I'll open some doors and I'll get others to open some doors. And in this vision, we see that what we have is a gift to us, and what we do with what we have is a gift from us. And in this way, each one of us can become empowered to become the best versions of ourselves. All of us have achieved some things in our life, and all of you have been fairly successful, but there is so much more each one of us can do. And how much more we can do, discovering that can be our life's greatest adventure. And it is to that adventure that the Bhagavad Gita calls all of us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Chaitanya Prabhuji, for wonderful session. So we'll have some questions with Prabhuji, and then audience will also get a chance to ask the question. We will share the mic with all of you.
Yeah.
I have a question, like why the title is Cultivating CEO Mindset? Because after going through all this thing, I felt it should be anyone's mindset.
Yeah, so CEO, there are two meanings of that. One is each one of us has to be the CEO of our own life. And in one sense, CEO is about gaining inner power. But then eventually we want to do good to ourselves, but we also want to do good to others. So in that sense, everybody is a potential leader, but not everybody will develop that potential for leadership. So the CEO mindset is for those who want to develop personal leadership, and then after that they want to develop public leadership also. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, and please take a snapshot of this summary. This is very useful tool for all of us, which can be applied in our life to become a better person as well as a better leader. Okay, so let me ask Prabhuji one question. So, how can we find inner peace and maintain balance amidst the chaos of professional life? And additionally, what does true success mean from the perspective of Bhagavad Gita?
So as far as inner peace is concerned, at one level, we cannot have an unrealistic idea that when there is a storm outside, we can be completely peaceful. We function in the world, and when there's chaos outside, there are two different things. There's being concerned, and there is feeling threatened. So when we feel threatened, then we tend to overreact. So what our, like I gave the example of the anchor, similar example we could say that if I'm the ground over here and there is a huge skyscraper, then I can feel tiny over here. But if I am above here, say I'm in a plane, then that same skyscraper does not seem so big. So our life's problems and the chaos that is caused, right? When we identify ourselves or we conceive of ourselves simply as material beings, then life's problems, what they will do is they will threaten us. So we will be overwhelmed, we'll be disturbed. But when we have a spiritual worldview and we have spiritual practices, and what happens is here we'll feel concerned but not threatened. Say recently there was a devastating forest fire in Los Angeles. You may have read about it. So now if somebody is caught in the fire, they will feel threatened. But somebody is in a rescue helicopter from above. They are concerned, but they don't feel threatened themselves. So like that, our spiritual practices, they lift us above our situations. So that it's not that peaceful in the sense that I don't care about anything. But it's peaceful in the sense that I care, but I don't feel threatened by it. And then we can be more responsible and responsive in the way we deal with situations. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was very insightful. And additionally, Prabhuji, what does the true success mean from the perspective of Bhagavad Gita?
Success in the Gita has two different aspects to it. We could say there is outer or material success, and there is inner or spiritual success. So every one of us, we could say, this is like we are here on top of a mountain, and we are all meant to be like a river going to the ocean. So the ocean ultimately is the Param Satya, is God. And we are all meant to unite in love with God. So that is the ultimate purpose of life. That is ultimate success. But at the same time, when the river is going through the landmass, at that time, the river can provide water to thousands and millions of life forms. So like that, we are meant to find our path in life, by which we can do seva, we can do good to others, using the gifts that we have. So each one of us is like a river. Now, the river is meant to reach the ocean, but each river has to find its way to reach the ocean. So the good that we do along the way, this is will define our material success. So all of us have certain talents, all of us have certain capacities, by which now each river will have to find its own way, and it will serve some people over there. So like that, that's material success for us. And then reaching the ocean, there we unite in eternal love with the Lord. That is what is sometimes called as moksha. That is a loving union. It's not a merging, but it is a union of our heart in love. So that is the spiritual success. So Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says. Yuddhacha, fight is that we act to gain material success in the world. Mam Anusmara, that spiritual remembrance, the devotional remembrance, will eventually take us towards ultimate success.
Thank you, Prabhuji. But generally, what happens is in our life, we try to find success and happiness in material things, either money, family, or something.
No, those are also important. See, it's not that they are unimportant. In the Vedic conception, there is the idea of artha. Now, the word artha has many different meanings. One meaning is meaning. Iska artha kya hai? Another meaning of artha is wealth. Another meaning of artha is also purpose. Purushartha. Purushartha is the purposes of life. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, like that we talk about it. So the thing is that we all evolve in our understanding of what is artha. So for a newborn child, the mother's breast from which it gets milk, that is the artha. As the child grows up, maybe the toys are an artha. I want to play with my toys. You see, the kid may not even want to share the toys with anyone else. But afterwards, friends with whom I can play, that becomes the artha. And as they grow older, then the marks become the artha. Of course, the marks are more the artha for the parent than for the children. But for the children also, they become an artha. So like that, we keep evolving. So in this journey, money is also an artha. It is important, no doubt. But the problem is that, so there are many arthas, but when you move topward, there is the paramartha. So paramartha is God, is Krishna. And this is centered on more of our thoughts. So most of the times, initially, we will seek artha in life. And that's fair enough, no doubt. But the problem is when any artha, we equate it with paramartha. When we equate an artha with paramartha, for example, if somebody thinks money is the goal of life, money, of course, everybody needs it. But when money becomes the goal of life, when that artha becomes the paramartha, that leads to anartha. When artha becomes paramartha, it leads to anartha. Anartha means, say for example, a person may become greedy. Now the problem with being greedy is that the greedy are always needy. No matter how much we have, always craving desperately for more. Very insecure if somebody else gets more than us. So what happens is, yes, we'll all seek material success, and that's the natural. But as we grow, we start realizing that there has to be more than material success in my life. The things I have matter. I want to have a good car, I want to have a big house. But the thoughts I have inside me matter even more. And organizing my thoughts, purifying my thoughts, making my thoughts healthy is also extremely important. Now, when I started traveling in the West, I was struck by how comfortable things are over there. So, life is very comfortable. But then when I started giving talks with people, and Western people would come, and after the talk, they would talk with me. Young boys, young girls, very good looking. But when they start talking, there are so many problems. If somebody has depression, somebody has addiction, somebody has this, somebody has that. Most people are extremely lonely. So what I noticed is that people in the West are comfortably miserable. But comfortable is at the level of things. The things that they have are very good, but miserable is at the level of the thoughts. Now, what has happened is, every year I take a group of Americans on a tour of India, And when these Americans come to India for the first time, the poverty is a huge culture shock for them. How can people live like this? And it is true. But then, after when we go to especially places like Vrindavan or other holy places, then over a period of time, they say the kids may be playing in the mud, but they're having fun in their own way. You know, what they see is people in India are often uncomfortably peaceful. So now if you go to the Kumbh, there are thousands, crores of people, but it's not just it's uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortably not just peaceful, it can even be joyful. So what has happened is, at the level of things are not very comfortable, but at the level of thoughts, it can be peaceful. Now the best would be, we can be comfortably peaceful. So in many ways, technology can bring comforts in our life. And we need technological advancement. But it is technology can improve things, but it is spirituality that can improve thoughts. So when we have both together, then we can really have people who are holistically successful and joyful in their lives. So technology and spirituality, if both of them come together, then that can make better people and it can make a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was very insightful. So, Prabhuji, another question is, how can the concept of detachment in the Gita help us handle professional setbacks?
Yes. Detachment is to be understood carefully. So we have to become detached from our previous ideas of detachment. Because many times people equate detachment. That is, to be detached is not to be uncaring. It is not to be irresponsible. When Krishna tells Arjuna, fight. Now, if he is detached, why should he fight at all? Now, fighting requires some investment of emotion. So when he talks about detachment, detachment is not from our efforts. Detachment is from the results. Now, why is that? Because the efforts are in our control. The results are not in our control. Like we have Stephen Covey talking about the circle of influence and circle of concern. So the idea is, when we are detached, then we can focus on what is in our control and we don't get distracted by what is beyond our control. So, karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Some people say that this means that don't care for the results. That's not the meaning. Because this particular shloka, this is 247 in the Bhagavad Gita, karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. But before that, it is 241. 241 is vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. Have one purpose in your life. Otherwise, you'll be pulled here and there by various kinds of desires. And you'll get nowhere, Krishna says. So, Krishna is not, in the corporate world, people say, set goals. And I was in Harvard Medical School, I was giving a talk. So there, one professor of Islamic studies, he had come. And he said he could not even pronounce the Bhagavad Gita. He said, I have read the Bhagavad Gita. And it makes no sense to me. He said, it says be detached from the fruits of your action. I said, how can you work like that? It is the fruits that motivate you. It is the vision, oh, I'll achieve this, I'll get this. That's what inspires us. So, the point here is, there is a difference between goals and results. So, 241 is saying set goals. So, goals are what we set before we endeavor. And we all need to set goals. But, now results are what we get after. Now, why should we be detached from the results? Because the results are not in our control. That we understand that my actions alone don't produce the results. Now, my actions play a very significant role in producing results, but they alone don't produce the results. And that's why sometimes some factors beyond my control may work in such a way that I may not get the results. So when that happens, I should be able to accept it. So this is where the idea of karma comes in. I remember I talked earlier about sometimes I may feel that I'm doing work worth 100 and I'm getting result worth what? 10. Now why does this happen? This happens because sometimes some minus 90 from the past also comes in. So this is our present action and this is our past action. So, but the past action is not in our control, but the present action is. So we do our present actions and even the results don't come, don't be worried about it. Sometimes our present action may just be 10 and then what happens, still we get the result worth 100 because at that time from the past 90 comes in. That's how sometimes we get more than what we deserve. So be detached from the results because the past is not in our control. Now, of course, this can be sometimes completely different. That this way, our action is 100 and the result is also 100. And the past doesn't play any role. Sometimes it could be the past plays the complete role and we don't play any role also. So this can vary. But focus on what is in our control. So detachment can help us to face life's insecurity, instabilities, because we understand that the situations I face are not entirely determined by my actions. So therefore don't take failure too personally. Sometimes that's the way things are. We have done our part, that's good, we learn and we see how I can do better in future. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. That was very insightful.
You have a second mic, please.
So basically, I thank you for such a good session. So these days I am seeing kids, right? So they learn a lot and they study very hard, but for competition and not for deep knowledge. So do you have any guidance in this area?
Yeah. I think we should be appreciative that they at least study. Isn't it? Sometimes we have to accept life's blessings even if they are small. I think there are two different factors over here. One is that everybody has certain natural interests. And when they have natural interests, they will go deeper into that field. Otherwise, they may not want to go deeper into that field. Now, sometimes some people have a job, other people have a career. Now, what is the difference? In many ways, you can understand the difference. But job is something we just do to earn a living. But career, maybe we are very invested in this. We have a passion for that field. So many times people, they don't really discover that for a long time. So what do I have a passion for? So if the kids are studying only for just gaining marks in the exam, that may be because they've not yet discovered the interest, a subject that interests them. See, sometimes we have to get ourselves interested in some subjects. But there are some things which we are naturally interested in. A child also has a previous life and they have samskaras from the previous lives. And based on that, they will have certain natural interests. So, like if you observe your child also, we may say children just want to play video games and watch TV and have fun. There's some truth to that, and that requires discipline. You have to do something which is for long-term good also for you. But then, among the things that they apply themselves to, we can push them to take interest in some fields. But we also need to take interest to see what they are naturally interested in. And if we can help them to develop that, then we won't have to push them too much. Some kids may be just naturally interested in music. Some kids are naturally interested in maths. I have a friend in America, he said that when he learned to write, after that, whenever his mother would give him noodles, instead of eating the noodles, he would form them into letters. Just had such a love for that. So now he's a very well-known writer. So now some kids may not have such outstanding interest or talents, but we have to observe. So one side is that, there's the two parts of the answer. First is try to see what their natural interests are. And then they will take interest in it naturally. They'll go deep into it, they'll study for that for a deeper purpose. The second is that when they are studying only at a superficial level, we have to also help them see success has multiple definitions. That you could say getting marks in an exam is a success, but developing a deeper understanding of the subject is also a success. And then maybe developing a trained mind that can actually go deep into subjects, that's also success. So you could say, when I talk about success, one success is getting marks. That's important. But the another success is getting deep understanding of subject. But another success could be getting a trained mind. So now, which is the definition of success that they are focusing on? And now, if if the whole environment around them is cultivating, is fostering only one definition of success, then to expect them to pursue another definition of success is going to be very difficult. So, if say the environment where only marks matter, then they may not want to go deeper. But if there's an environment where, if you write some other additional research papers, you participate in these activities, you get something. Everybody needs some sense of success. So rather than saying go deep into a subject, you have to give them a vision of there's other definitions of success also. And this is also a definition of success worth pursuing. When that catches their imagination, see, instruction can push a person only so far. Eventually, their imagination has to be ignited. And when a bigger definition of success catches their imagination, then they will pursue it. Okay?
So thanks for the lovely answer.
Thank you,
You can
Prabhu.
relax, yeah.
Anyone has any more questions? Otherwise, I'll.
Yes,
go
please. Yeah, here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, I don't have any question, but just to elaborate what Prabhuji said. So I recall one incident from my school. So I think it was class 9, and in my school they had called one alumni to talk about the career and future perspective, because it was a small town. Am I not audible?
You can take the mic.
Okay, yeah. So the alumni started with a slideshow, and the topic. So he said that I'll go through the slides and talk about your career and future perspective and so on. So when he opened the slide, the first slide was noun, the noun pronoun parts of speech. So he said, sorry, I brought the wrong slide, but since I brought, so whatever slide I have, I'll continue with this. And the next slide was types of nouns. So I think nouns are like proper noun, collective noun, and so on. And then there is one abstract noun. So he gave the examples of proper noun, like my name, town's name, everything is proper noun. And he successively came to this abstract noun. So abstract noun definition is that what you cannot measure. So like emotion, sorrow, success, failure, these are abstract noun. And then he continued from there onwards that success, as we see, is not measurable. So someone, say, suppose, who did PhD and then he turned into a monk, for him it's a successful life. But for an outside perspective, he is not successful. Someone, who just did class 10 and he went into, say, agriculture, and he is earning crores. And somebody who just did, good education, say IIT, and he is not earning crores, but he is earning lakhs. So how do we, compare those people? How do we measure successful? Who is more successful or less successful? So we should not, just measure successfulness in terms of money or power or whatever achievement people have. It varies from person to person, their perspective, whatever strength or whatever feeling they get from their action, from their deed. It's an inner satisfaction that is immeasurable, but then that is more weightage. That has more weightage, and that's really important. So we should not be just thinking in terms of outside factors, but in terms of inner factors.
Nice point. Thank you. So the success in the Vedic context has these two aspects. You can sit down. There's objective success, which is more in terms of externals. And, okay. See, we cannot not be concerned about external success. So we live in a competitive world, and the world is going to measure us by objective parameters. Okay, how many marks you got in the exam, how much you met the deadline, how much you produced. That's objective success. That's called abhyuday. And then there is subjective success, that is called nishreyas. Nishreyas is what? Basically, it will vary from person to person. It's based on internal parameters. So now, at particular phases in a person's life, a person may focus more on objective success. So initially, maybe till the age of 30, maybe 25, 30, 35, what objective success? I want to have a 6-figure, 7-figure salary, whatever. I want to live in this kind of house. That's objective success. But then there is subjective success also. It varies from individual to individual. I want to live in a big house, but if I have to stay in a big house far away from my family, from my friends, from community, is that really success? There are other things also which matter. So this is actually the journey from Artha to Paramartha, ultimately. So both successes are important, and now for different people at different stages in their life, the subjective parameters may become more important than the objective parameters. So one reason I said Indians are quite successful in the Western world. One reason is that many reasons, but one reason is that Indians consider family to be very important. So every culture does consider, but things change with value. So Indians take parenting very seriously. You ask the children, they will say take it too seriously, they will say. But the point is sometimes to take care of the children, the mother is ready to forego of some career growth so that he can take care of the child. The father may also relocate to a place where the child has a better college. That means that they can't go through that much faster in career. So taking care of the children is considered much more important than just my own career growth. So now that's somewhat subjective. Of course, the children grow up and they become successful. That is objective. But there are different definitions of success. And in the Western world, sometimes parents are quite detached. I was staying at an American devotee couple's house only. So they invited me for lunch. I was there. They had a daughter who was just finishing 12th. So I asked, so what is your daughter going to do after 12th? And the husband looked at his wife, we never asked her what she's going to do. So now it's so detached, whatever you want to do it. So I said that in India, before 5th, 6th standard only, you're thinking what do you do after 12th. So the thing is, there are these objective and subjective aspects of success. So one key to being successful in life in the long run is to not be attached to our definition of success. I may have a particular definition of success right now, and that inspires me. Let me move forward with that definition. But then it may change. We change with time, the world changes with time. So one key to success is to not be attached to our definition of success. Okay?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So we don't have a lot of time. If people have more questions, then we'll take those questions. Any more questions, or I'll just take one last question.
Okay, you.
Yeah, namaste. So, how can we avoid distraction is my question, Guruji, because it quite often happens for me. Even while walking, easily we can get attracted to social media or anything.
Yeah.
Even newspaper also. Even kids do get distracted. I just want to know about this.
Yeah. How can we avoid distraction? Well, simple answer, we can't. The world is filled with distractions. Our mind is also highly distractible. But what we can try to do is minimize. So in the Gita, Krishna talks about two things for mind management: Abhyas and Vairagya. These two words, Abhyas and Vairagya, can be understood in many different ways. Different commentators have translated in different ways. I'll take a particular perspective. Abhyas is persistence. Keep doing the same thing again and again. Vairagya is abstinence. Abstinence is don't do something. So basically what happens is our mind is a programmable machine, and it is programmed in a particular way. There's a tendency to act in a particular way. So what we need to do is, we need to, at one level, change the programming. At another level, we need to change our attitude toward the programming. That means, even if the programming comes this way, I don't have to go. Say, I am based in Mumbai, so there is a small thing in Mumbai. Have any of you heard of it? So there is Bollywood. So now, if somebody has visited a website called Bollywood.com, maybe they have visited 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, then now they come to a talk like this and they hear about the Bhagavad Gita, and they want to know more about the Bhagavad Gita. Then what happens is, they open their browser and they start typing Bhagavad Gita. They type B, and what happens? Bollywood.com comes. Why? It's stored in the browser history. So what happens is, somehow, now they don't want to go there, but because that is what is stored, they will go there. So now, when they type B and Bollywood.com has come as autocomplete, no, you need Vairagya. Don't go there. That is abstinence. Although that will be easy, but don't go there. And then we have to type bhagavadgita.com. We have to type 12 letters. It can seem like climbing Mount Everest. You know, in an age of quick scrolling and waiting, 12 letters you have to type. But when you type that, it is persistence. Even if we do it once, what happens? It gets stored in our browser history. If you do it 5 times, the next time you type B, still Bollywood.com might come as the first autocomplete. But Bhagavadgita.com will also come as the second autocomplete. And if you keep visiting Bhagavadgita.com, then it will start coming as the first autocomplete. So what has happened for us is, we have somehow unwittingly become trained in distraction. Nobody trains themselves to become distracted. But what happens is, there are so many stimuli. When we're talking with a person, our phone beeps. We are looking at our phone, suddenly some notification comes up. We are walking on the road, we see this, we see that. We are trained in distraction. So now what we need to do is, we retrain ourselves. That means, say, if right now you are hearing this talk, and then suddenly your phone beeps. Okay, now the thought, let me look at the phone. But okay, I can look at it, let me look at it later. So that urge to look at the phone that comes up, that's a dopamine hit we get. Okay, sometimes quickly I can see something. So now the tendency will come up. But that's like Bollywood.com as autocomplete. Just as much as possible, okay, abstain from it. So now we have to also be realistic and kind with ourselves. Right? Say if somebody visits Bhagavadgita.com 10 times and after that they visit Bollywood.com once, that's not a big loss. Okay, if they continue visiting Bhagavadgita.com, the browser history would change much faster. But sometimes there might be a relapse. So try to see, how can I have at least some phases of concentration in my life. So, okay, if I'm talking with a person, if I'm talking with my spouse, I'm talking with my friend, just for 5 minutes, let me just pay them full attention. Just train yourself in concentration. So that is the abhyasa. And train yourself so that vairagya. So now we could decide, let's think of 3 things which we tend to get distracted by. And can we bring some vairagya with respect to that? So tendency is, as soon as I time, I have to look at my phone. Okay, maybe we have to look at our phone sometimes, but do I need to do it all the time? Or even my phone, I don't have to look at social media. Maybe I have something meaningful to read. So think of 3 things that we get distracted by. It could be in the phone also, it could be some apps. So let's try to create some distance from them. So a little bit of vairagya. Maybe instead of looking at my phone every 15 minutes, I look at it once an hour. Or say at night, I'll not keep the phone right next to me. Whatever. Try to think of some ways when you can do vairagya. And similarly, think of some ways in which you can do abhyas. Like I said, when you're talking with people, let's at least for If you're going to talk for 1 hour, maybe just paying full attention for 1 hour may be difficult. But for 5 minutes, let me give full attention. This is where meditation can be very helpful. Like we did this deep breathing, we did this Om chanting, we chant the Hare Krishna mantra and Kirtan. So at one level, it can seem very mechanical. So we are uttering the same mantra again and again and again. But what are we doing? Through repeating the same mantra, we are training our mind in concentration. That the mind, okay, focus. It goes off focus, focus, focus. It may seem to require a lot of effort, but through that effort, what will happen is our mind will get trained. So don't think of distraction as something which is 1-0 kind of thing. That it's not that we are distracted or we're not distracted. Even if our degree of distraction decreases, that is also a success. So just think of 3 things where you can, 3 areas of your life where you can practice some persistence, and say think of 3 things where you can practice some abstinence. Not complete abstinence may be difficult. Say if I'm driving along the road, let me plan, I won't look at all the hoardings here and there. Just whatever it is, each one of us has to use the individual, we have to look at our mind and we have to see what we can do. And gradually the distraction will decrease. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for wonderful session. It was really very, very insightful and a lot of gems we have got. So, how many of you all want Prabhuji to come once again to this center and share his wisdom? Hari Bol. So, Prabhuji, we humbly request you to please once again give your association so that we can organize a similar program. So, thank you once again, Prabhuji.
So much of what I spoke is today based on my new book, Gita for the CEO. So if any of you would like to learn how to apply the Gita's principles in your life, it's presented in a very light-hearted way as a conversation between 2 people. Both of them are corporate leaders. One of them knows the Gita, another wants to know the Gita. And sometimes the Gita can seem very philosophical. So I've taken some 10 principles which are very easily relatable with our life. And then I explained how the Gita can help us to both understand and apply those principles. That book is available. And also we have calendars also. There's some 365, the calendar with 365 quotes inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So each of these is inspired by one verse from the Gita. So be mindful or your mind will make you a fool. There are thoughts like that. We can't be grateful for all situations, but we can be grateful in all situations. We don't look at this and that situation. Life is unfair, fairly unfair. This situation is unfair, but there have been situations that are fair in my life. Like that, there are quotes inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So if any of you want, both of those are available, and I'll also be here for some time in case you would like to ask some questions or have the book signed. Thank you so much, and wish you all the very best. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I can personally vouch. The book is amazing. I have read it, and I request everybody to please take this opportunity, take a book, and then get it signed from Prabhuji as well. So yeah, I mean, like before we go for the lunch prasadam and other things, I will take just 5 minutes to talk about who we are and what we actually do and what is next, so that you can continue this journey of wisdom, which can help all of us together to build our inner power as well as outer power, at what Prabhuji was saying, so that we can be more happy at the same time. So yeah, meanwhile, please maybe you can pass on the paper, Prabhuji. Yeah, should we continue or how should we do? We'll just take 5 minutes and then maybe you can go and collect the books. Okay. So I really want to thank uh, all the participants who have really took the time out during your weekend, and also Prabhuji, who is not well, but still able to find time for us and share his wisdom. So really thankful to everyone. So yeah, I mean, like, we are ISKCON CDEC, Culture for Devotion Center for Devotion Education and Culture. So yeah, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So just to give us some gist, we were expecting 120 plus registrations. I think we have half of them. Half of them missed out this opportunity, but hopefully they will watch out the recording. And 45 plus unique organization people have registered for this session, so which was good. Yeah, and Geeta, for the CEO book, I will highly encourage everybody to please take this book. So this is basically, as Prabhuji was mentioning, in a very simplified form, and the principles and the tools and the format or the framework which Prabhuji has talked about, we can apply very easily in our life. You need not be a leader, but as Prabhuji was mentioning, we are the leader of our own life. So definitely this is going to change and bring transformation in our life. So definitely go for this book. Yeah. So as I was saying, we are the ISKCON CDEC, an outpost of ISKCON Abits, and our mission statement is food for thought, peace for the mind, and joy for the soul. And we'll quickly share. Prabhuji, next slide. And we'll quickly talk about what we overall do in the center. So we basically focus on body, soul, mind, and family and society. Let's go and look into what we do. So body, from a point of view, so we basically do a lot of annadan to needy people, and also eating a prasadam is very important to calm our mind and things. And at the same time, we also takes care of yoga sessions. So please, note down some of these things and subscribe to us. And mind, so basically this center has a lot of youth as well, and we go to bunch of de-addiction centers where a lot of people are suffering from a bunch of this addiction. So we basically help them to de-addict those things. At the same time, stress management and mantra meditation. So one of the sessions which you guys have attended to today is going to help us in handling bunch of the stress or the anxieties or the chaos in our life. And then we also have a family congregation. So if you become a member of this center, then you can also discuss. We have a lot of bunch of senior family devotees who has been practicing and following Bhagavad Gita from a very long time. And whatever the personal level problems and those can be also discussed, and we will try to help and sort that out. And then for the soul level, we do bunch of these activities: spiritual and emotional discourse, soulful kirtan sessions, scriptural readings. So we, every Saturdays and every weekends, we have a systematic study of Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures. So you can definitely, take advantage of these things as well. Next slide, probably. And then enjoyment, fun. So every year we do a lot of big festival celebration like Janmashtami, Jagannath Rath Yatra, and many more. And a very delicious prasadam is served. So definitely, you can take an advantage of this thing as well. Okay, so now this is the most important slide here. So what next? Like, since you guys have attended this one-time session, and how you can take advantage of, like continue this journey of self-improvement and increase, like improving our inner self as well as our outer self. So, we have a very well curated program, Discover Yourself. It is a session program. You can very well see the topics of these 6 sessions. So, basically, it is all based on Bhagavad Gita, scientifically and logically explained. So you can ask all sort of questions in these sessions and get your fundamentals very clear. Because once this is clear, we get all sort of doubts which comes when we start our spiritual journey. So I highly recommend everybody to please enroll for this program. We will share the QR code. So you can go to the next slide. We will share this QR code. Please scan this QR code and join this WhatsApp group as soon as possible today itself, before we forget. As Prabhu was saying that some things we have to do it immediately and not delay it, and this is one sort of that thing. So please enroll this one. Thank you very much. And yeah, please go ahead and take the books, and then after that we will have Prashadam on the 3rd floor. So yeah, please take the book. That's very highly recommended. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis. I would like to just add that personally I have benefited immensely from the wonderful, wonderful content of Prabhuji, which is present in the spiritualscientist.com and geetadaily.com. So I would personally request everybody to kindly go through. Trust me, it will change your life like anything. Hare Krishna.